Hello there guys, NikoTheShrek here with yet another video for you. I'm going to be rolling out with Shrekview number 12, and this game that I'm Shrekviewing today is going to be called Switchblade. When I came across this game, it was entirely by accident, in the sense that I was scrolling through the PlayStation market and I was looking through the games that they had, because I noticed that they had a lot of free games that are like online on the PC, like Paths of Exile, Star Trek Online. I was kind of exploring the option of maybe getting those games another time when I finish some of the other games that I already have. And then I came across this, and the initial image for the game sort of caught my eye, in the sense that I am a huge fan of all things mechs, battle cars, you know, everything like that. That just speaks my name. And the initial image for this game reminded me, if anything, of a game I used to play called Twisted Metal, and that was on the original PlayStation. With that being said, this game, just to add some beginning thoughts, this game is like the love child of your core MOBA game, like with the core MOBA mechanics, and Twisted Metal. And I think that's what made me so hooked to begin with, and just I enjoyed playing it as much as I did. It was because it was very Twisted Metal in nature. It reminded me entirely of that game. So let's go ahead and delve into the specifics of this game, starting with the visual. To begin this Shrekview, I'm going to tell you guys about the graphical kind of pros and cons. I have to say, this game is 100% free to play. Every single match that I played, every single car that I used, was completely accessible without touching a single penny of my wallet. And for that, I was extremely grateful, because wow, what a quality game for it being completely free. But visually speaking, especially since this is a free-to-play game, there are hardly any issues in regards to the visuals. The only real thing that I saw wrong is that some of the very, very detailed textures are a little bit pixely, a little bit off, in regards to they're just kind of put there, but they're not really meant to be focused on, because you're going to be enveloped in everything that you're seeing here, and not necessarily the daisies on the ground. And the only visual offset is just the little bits of patches of grass that you see every now and again. But that is very, very excusable, given that the rest of the game looks practically flawless, in regards to it being a nice balance between the awesome, like, cool-looking sci-fi Mad Max Twisted Metal aesthetic of the cars, with just these weapons, these outlandish weapons being attached on all different areas of the vehicle, the shape of the vehicle being really, really wicked. Each and every one of the cars has their own unique look, their own unique play style. It's in the same vein as picking different champions in different MOBA games, in the sense that you are using different vehicles. The big difference, though, is that this actually looks aesthetically better than most MOBA games. Graphically speaking, especially for free-to-play games, this is actually one of the more high-tier games I have seen in that regard, especially because I didn't see any kind of rendering issues. I didn't see any frame rate issues. I didn't see anything that would cause me to say, well, I think they need to update the visuals of this game a little bit, and help with the kind of processing, because the processing goes kind of hand in hand with the visuals. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude the visual aspect by saying it runs at 60 frames a second. The lighting effects are actually really, really good. I enjoyed the little cartoony aesthetic, in the sense that, like I said, it reminded me of like Twisted Metal, but like with a really, really fun, fresh outlook. The colors are vibrant. Definitely nothing wrong about the game in that regard. Everything is as pretty much as good as you could expect, if not greater than you could expect, out of a free-to-play vehicular warfare MOBA. Especially one that didn't receive hardly any marketing. I'm just thoroughly impressed that the game is as quality as it is, with no marketing for it, with no, much like Battlerite. You know, in that degree, they just didn't market that game. But hey, let's go ahead and delve into kind of part 2. The performance of the game. The performance of the game is effectively flawless. I felt nothing holding the game back. Everything flowed really smoothly. There were no issues when we were getting into group fights, especially with the amount of minions there were at some points, kind of grouping in, getting blown up, firing missiles everywhere, bullets flying everywhere, cars kind of maneuvering around each other using different lighting effects. It did not slow the game down at all. You know, it didn't matter what was going on. It had no slowdowns, no lagging, no rubber banding, no latency issues. I was just completely and 100% impressed overall in that regard, because it was just so smooth. It was so fluent. It was so flowing. And everything about the game in regards to performance is just spot on. It's high octane. It does what it needs to do, and there is no point of discretion to really speak of. So with that being said, there's not much to say in regards to performance other than it ran wonderfully, maintained a constant 60 frames with no drops, no lags, no rubber banding, and I was very, very happy with that. So we're going to transition, even though it was a short segment, we're going to transition to the mechanics of the game, since that was probably one of my most surprised aspects, so to speak, in the sense that I was not expecting the game to be so simply put together in regards to a controller scheme. This game would look like it has a lot going on, probably too much for a controller to handle, and yet, no, it does not. It's actually the opposite. It works quite the opposite in the sense that the controller is absolutely perfect, because they simplified everything you can do into this game, into a few simple controls. The mobility aspect, utilizing strictly the left stick for motion, strictly the right stick for camera movement and aiming, using those mechanics together in tandem is very, very simple, very straightforward, not too far different from any kind of third-person game you'd play or racing game you'd play, where you do have to change the camera angle when and where you're driving. It reminded me the most, in regards to vehicular warfare, to games like Halo, where the combat mechanics of a vehicle and the mobility mechanics of a vehicle are very easy to maneuver, very simple to kind of get around and see where you're going and pulling different tactical maneuvers. And the control scheme is universal across all the different vehicles. You can pick all the different classes. Each and every one of the classes and vehicles has a primary firing ability, a set of secondary firing abilities, which is like special abilities, and then each and every car has their own unique ultimate attack. And the ultimate attacks are just pretty awesome. But with that being said, each and every one of those things are very easy and simple to perform, to execute. There is no delay. I was able to press everything I needed to press, and without fail, the commands would go off, the cooldowns would initiate, and there would be no instance where I press a button, I see my ability go off, and then it doesn't affect somebody. I have not seen that happen yet. So with that being said, I was very, very happy to see such responsiveness with the controller, such straightforward controller scheme, very easy to pick up, but I'm sure, like I said, there are some maneuvers and things that could probably be pulled that are just absolutely ridiculous, absolutely outlandish, and that's just something I'll have to learn as I keep playing the game. So, with that being said, controllers, I would give no gripes. Completely awesome. Well integrated. Very, very simple. Very straightforward. Honestly, this game could be played by anybody, effectively. Very family capable, family oriented. There's no violence that's like outlandishly gruesome. So this really could be played by, you know, anybody in the family in that regard, including people who have a hard time picking up advanced mechanics. This would be still a straightforward, simple game for young people and even adult gamers who don't game very often. So, great for casual. They do have a competitive play section in which I will be partaking in if I get good enough, as this was their Season 0. They're going to be starting Season 1 soon. So I think I got into this game at the right time. With that being said, let's go ahead and go into from the controller mechanics, which are amazingly well integrated, to kind of conclusive thoughts about the overall mechanics of the game and just my overall thoughts. With a MOBA, it's very simple. You pick your character, or in this case, 2 different vehicles for team integration. You pick your character, you go ahead and attack the objectives that you need to attack while defending the ones you need defending, specifically your base towers. And in this game, those are very interestingly set up in the sense that they're kind of spanned out in like a diamond, and there is no like restrictive anything stopping you from attacking each and every individual one separately. It's not like it walls you off from attacking all the different towers at once. So I found that a little unique in the sense that you can drive anywhere, and as long as you're outmaneuvering and out shooting your opponent, I guess is the way to put it, you're gonna be having the edge to victory. It's not guaranteed, but you will have a great edge in regards to the fact that your team still does need to cooperate, because this can't just be done. You know, otherwise people would just be all teaming up against you, and then everybody else doing nothing would cause you to fail. So with that being said, I like the fact that the team play of this game is kind of essential, and it's in its effectiveness. It's absolutely essential that you pick kind of a variety of different vehicles among your team, and that's why I like the fact that they let you pick 2, because then you can pick the one your priority pick, and then you can pick one to help you be a utility for when your team needs it. The tank vehicles are very good at causing distractions. They're very good at kind of separating your foe from you, or your foe from your objectives. They're very good at taking damage, taking artillery damage. That's kind of their sole purpose, is to kind of be out there, be aggressive, and be in your face, so that you prioritize them as a target as opposed to anything else. The attacking cars, although they are kind of, many of them in this game are very much glass cannons, you can upgrade through the match your armor and your health to make yourself a little beefier, a little more resistant to damage. It doesn't mean you can start being like a tank and be in everybody's face, but it definitely does allow for you to have that sustain and have a little more time before, let's just say if a healer is already addressing a turret or a tower or another teammate, it allows you that slight edge of time to be able to stand there and keep taking the heat, keep outmaneuvering your opponent for the just-in-time save from a healing opponent or from a consumable that you want to deploy. And in that regard, the attacking vehicles had become some of my favorite, in the sense that this is one of those vehicles, and this is the one that I actually inherently performed the best with. Usually, in any given game, I perform well with the tanks, but in this particular game, I was kind of balanced between the attack vehicles and the healing vehicles, and of which I found the attack to be the most fun for me personally, and I was able to maneuver them a lot better and integrate their abilities into my playstyle a lot better. And then there's the scouting vehicles that are meant for purely speed, mobility, maneuvering, to kind of poke your opponent with different CCs and run away, drive around, go to different areas and cause distraction and inhibit the opponent's abilities and cause them not to be able to push forward, to slow their advance, while your team catches up with you to kind of finish the job. That's what it's supposed to be in theory anyway. And then, of course, there is the artillery class, which in and of itself, basically, they cause things to go boom. Their core job is to hit the bases, towers, minions, pretty much anything that has to do with the creeps or NPC objective. They can do significant damage to cores, to towers, to mobs of all kinds, and they're just meant to clear the way for all the other vehicle types to kind of keep pushing through, keep pushing along, and to prevent the mobs from overwhelming your towers and your base. If there is an attack initiated, an artillery car could very easily level the playing field by taking out all the creeps and minions first, and then moving on from there. And I feel like that is kind of one of the most straightforward roles, and also the most essential. One of the most essential, as the kills are not necessarily essential in this game, and yet making sure that your base does not get overrun is. You know, it's kind of one of those things where kills are a bonus of having the defense, not necessarily something you should prioritize. So for the artillery people, your priorities would ultimately be the creeps and the turrets and things like that, to help your team strike where and when necessary, and to prevent your team from being overwhelmed in the base. So, with that being said, I honestly had a blast with this game overall. The gameplay variety is just absolutely endless. I found no issues with this game, in the sense that I genuinely enjoyed everything about it, from the moment I picked it up to the moment I put it down to do this video, to do this Shrekview. As you guys know, my Shrekviews are really just to give a game recognition or new life or fresh life, depending on where the game stands. In this particular case, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you have a great time. I hope you pick the game up where and whenever you're watching. Be good, be safe, enjoy yourselves, and I will catch you guys on the flip side in the next Shrekview, in the next video. And I thank you all for watching. So in the meantime, like I said, catch you on the flip side in the next video. Bye bye.